Next up we have Brian Dillon from AIB, one of Ireland's leading pillar banks. So Brian is going to give us the perspective of security for a major financial services organisation.
Obviously, I'm not the leading pillar bank. Yeah, so I've been working in AIB for the last couple of years. Prior to that, I was in a software company called Phineas for 14 years, as some people here in the audience will attest. I'm going to keep this very high level, so obviously I'm not going to tell you how to solve the security. I'm just going to tell you all the problems that we see and what we have to look forward to or look at in the future. So I'm not selling a solution, I'm saying you need to solve my problems. So it's just to kind of set the scene or set the landscape that we're kind of coming into from a bank's point of view or from a financial service point of view. A couple of key items. The stats wise, financial service sector attacks 65 more times than any other sector. Wow. So, when you think about it, you can say, well, the money is there. If you're going to go to all this effort, you're going to attack where the money is. But the stats are 65 more times than any other sector. The other thing is 43% of attacks are through social engineering. So you have some people say, well, how do we protect against that? Well, that's not the software, we can't solve that. But actually, that's the whole thing. We need to be able to solve that. We need to be able to identify how the social engineering is happening and how do we prevent it. So it's not just building secure software anymore, it's building software and then identify, actually this user is doing something different than they would have normally, or there's something going wrong here and maybe we need to notify something and stop the system. 81% of hacking breaches from stolen or weak passwords. So that can be very simply solved. We talked about vault, things like that. There's ways and means of solving that. These things just need to be put in place. And then 53% of organizations experience more attacks this year than last year. So again, it's increasing. It's getting worse and worse. People are starting to attack. As we're putting more and more information out there, we're opening it up. We're going to be opening ourselves up to more and more attacks. So it means we need to kind of get out of the, oh, well, I'll just close the doors and I'll try and protect myself, and look at, well, what level of security do we need to put in place at the various different doors. It's not just about protecting the front door, it's about protecting all the way through to the back end system. And about monitoring what's going on in the system. So what do we see as the challenges from a bank's point of view? So the 4 key items I've kind of picked out there. End user experience, their expectations, what they want. So it's not just a case of, oh, well, you make my data secure, you make my account secure, and I'm happy. No, I want to use what device I have when I want it, and don't impede me in doing my business. It has to be as less intrusive as you can make it. I was talking to people earlier about setting up bank accounts. If you want to set up an account, people don't want to have to sign a form and go into a branch. They want to be able to do it online. When they want to make a payment, they don't want a device that they have to enter in numbers and try and fiddle around. Oh, did I enter the right number? Did I enter the right character? No, I have to go back to the start again. You need to make things easier. We need to make things easy for the end user. But that means that you need to make sure that the new methods are more secure. The competitor market, there's obviously going to be challenger banks, there's going to be online banks, there's going to be new fintechs coming along. They're not going to have all the baggage that the traditional banks have, so they're going to get out to market with new products and new ideas. How do we as a bank compete against that, but still bring the security forward? Because again, some of the challengers, some of the newer fintechs will develop on new software. They'll develop where some of those security measures are built into the software from the start. The existing banks have the existing systems. You have to be able to secure them. They won't move as quickly. How do you manage that rate of change? regulation changes. So while we're there trying to say, well, we'll protect it, we can lock it down, the regulations are saying, actually, no, you need to open it back up. So the big one there is the second item there is open banking. So you've got PSD2 in Europe and you've got CMA in the UK. So they're saying we must allow people to be able to register with a third-party vendor and allow a user give access to their account information or to make a payment. One of the other ones in particular, CMA, are being very, which is the UK
this is a demonstration
saying
of Wirecast.
it must be done in such a way that it's not going to prevent the TPP or the third party from providing it. So it can't be an inhibitor. So if a user can do it with the bank and in whatever manner they can do it in the bank, it must be offered as quickly and as easy to a third party vendor. So you're opening up APIs, how do you secure them? How do you know who's making that payment? How do you know who's accessing your account? But it's something where the regulator is saying you must do it. It is going to happen whether we want to do it or whether we don't want to do it. It just has to happen. The GDPR, or the General Data Protection Regulation. So there's a new bag of that coming in place this year, which is around the right to access of my data, so not just payment data or account information, but any data that the banks are holding. The right to be forgotten. So I've left the bank for a number of years. I don't want you to hold any information about me anymore. So please make sure you know where all the data is and you delete it. And then there's just other general requests if there's an audit. So there's more. The GDPR is getting stronger around it. You must know where all the data is and how protected it is. And if you're storing it anywhere, you need to be able to show that it's protected. And all this is great.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Everyone else in the room here that isn't from a bank is going to solve the problem, but it means we have third-party vendors to worry about. So how do we ensure that any third-party vendor that we're working with is auditing their software, is looking after their software, is developing in a secure manner, or developing secure software? How do you know there isn't any backdoors being put in place? We have that problem with the internal development, but the system is getting bigger and wider. So that one there, I think, is a challenge, but also it is a benefit because you're getting more vendors and people that are being used across the board. So, but again, it is something that we have to monitor. One of the things I haven't up there, which kind of cuts across all these, is when we're talking about the API economy or the API community, where things are being split up, and then you've got microservices, and then all the new different services technologies. You're splitting things out into more different component parts, and now all those component parts you need to make sure are all individually secure. And how do you monitor all those parts? How do you ensure that they're all secure? When you had that monolith application, you had less points to secure. Now, we all know we don't want to be in a monolith, but it means that we have more work to do around securing the system as it is now, because there's more distributed parts to it. So some of the things that we're looking at, how do we mitigate what's happening? How do we prevent what we need to do? So prevent the security holes. So first one there being around the people. So very simple, educate and awareness training for not just the people using the system, so to protect against social engineering, but for software developers, for users of the system. Educate people around the security. Just too many people around, and this wouldn't be just in the banks, who just don't understand that setting a weak password is a bad thing. Setting or sending out someone's information in an email or a WhatsApp, as we said earlier, isn't something you should be doing. We need to educate people. to get better at this. Design with security in mind from the
This
start.
is a demonstration of Wirecast.
In a vendor space from when you're developing a product. It shouldn't be oh, I've got this new system, now I'm going to secure it. It should be built in from the very start. It shouldn't be an afterthought before I go live. On the second side, on the process, look at what you can do. So you've got the likes of data-enabled insights. So vulnerability scans, the likes of qual scans, different scans to make sure your system is good and strong and secure. And it's not a case, again, of doing it at the last minute just before you go live. It should be done throughout the design development, but also once you're live, it should be continuing going because you don't know what other changes are going on. Track the changes in operating systems, application services, and so on, because there's often changes and often versions that will be more secure, and you need to know what's there in your ecosystem. And constant service reviews, appropriate logging, monitoring, alerting, make sure you have those things in place in order to.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
That kind of brings you on to the next stage of, well, now you're live. How do you preempt? So you've gone through the development, you've managed the people, and now you're running. Well, again, audit users' actions. So what are they doing? Who's doing it from the system? Website logs, and audit, but also monitor those audits. There's no point having audits that you look at. Well, actually, whenever we have a breach, you look at why it happened. You need to be monitoring those.
Of Wirecast.
Use service insights around service health, response time, error rate, loads. Often the attacks on a system, a denial of service type attack, or any, they'll change the way the system is behaving. So if you know how the system behaves on a normal day, and now something starts looking a little bit different, it should trigger an alarm that you start looking at the system and wondering why. That kind of brings you to identify your trends. What's your usage, your volumes? If it suddenly spikes or suddenly changes,
this is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Not right in the system. And last, again, just around just pure prevention. What do we do if we want to bring that system into a little bit more of a controlled manner? So you have your standard endpoint hardening, which are firewalls, your DMZs, your user privileges. Talked earlier about the secure store of certificates, keys, making sure they're rotated. You've got vaults, HSMs. Does everyone know what HSM is? It's a hardware machine for creating your certificates. So rather than creating them in software, it's creating a physical box that is harder to get access to. So the keys are managed there and a little bit more secure. There's less access to it. So they're just the kind of things that you can get there's a flavour for the type of things that we can do. Because from my point of view, it's not about locking down the system. It's about making sure that we know the points and the controls in and out of the system and what we can do to monitor and ensure the system is secure. So, keeping it short and sweet, that's the end. Anyone has any comments, questions? Yeah.
So I'm an AIB customer myself, and one of my biggest complaints is that there's no MFA for the online banking. Any thoughts on that?
So as I say, they are looking at changing things at the moment. So the area I work at the moment specifically is in business banking. And we're actually replacing the entire system. There is ongoing work in the retail sector as well around looking at what we can do, how we can change things to make it more user friendly. So I suppose what I can say is, without divulging too much information, watch the space next year.
Do you think that some of the challenges you see there could be opportunities in a way that it brings us to the forefront and now it has to be tackled head on?
This is a demonstration of
I think so, but I think also that the challenge around the people, it's educating the people to know that it does need to be tackled head on. So you'll often find people, like a good example that we had recently, we were putting in usage of a system around rotating passwords. And when we were going through our own checks around So the system that was going to use the secure password rotation was using this to improve the security. When we looked and did an audit of the system that did the rotation, it itself was insecure. Because it had APIs that you would have been able to get at all the passwords in the system. So as you can imagine, we thought we were going, okay, we'll do this, it'll be way more secure, but actually, when you look at what we were going to use to make it secure, it would have been worse than we had in the first place. So thankfully we got it before it never
This is a demonstration of
further, but
Wirecast.
it's just those are the kind of things like it brings it to the forefront, but you have to be educated. It's not just we'll just put all these things in place and it'll be great. You need to know what you're doing. And also, I think with some of the security concerns I have is you need to make it secure without making it slow. You need to make it secure without being intrusive to the end user. So it's how do you not show that you're making it secure, but make it really, really secure.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Yeah.
That was a great presentation, thanks. I wasn't aware that the right to be forgotten applied to banks, and the mischievous part of me can't help wondering if the fraud squad and the revenue commission are this.
So there is a provisor in the regulation that if the bank deems it that they don't trust you, so that's you, John. They can hold on to the data for security reasons. So if you defaulted on all your loans over a number of years, and then after 7 years go, I want the right to be forgotten, and I'm going to walk in next week. The bank can deem that information can be kept for specific reasons.
So you can check it off Google, but not the bank.
Exactly.
How on track are you with PSD2? So it's in the next year, right?
So CMA is the big one for us. So for this year, CMA comes into force on 13th January.
Of Wirecast.
So and actually CMA, I know I'm going to ask answering the question. The reason I'm tackling it from a CA point of view is CMA is the first out. They've been very, very clued in with giving detailed specs on how to get at the account information, how to make a payment, and saying it must be this API, so this is the API you're going to expose to a third party. The view that most banks that are involved in the UK and Ireland that are involved in the CMA are saying, well, we implement CMA, we've implemented PSD2. All we have to do then is turn on access to ROI accounts. For example, as I said, I'm working at the moment in one of the business banking replacement systems. We're looking at implementing CMA, and the way we're not implementing PSD2 for January because we don't want to turn it on is we haven't migrated customers that have ROI accounts. Because there's no difference in the software, there's no difference in the specs.
This
CMA is actually has more requirements around what data you need to provide. PSD2 is you need to provide your payment account information and you need to allow them to make payments. CMA is you must provide all my account information in order that I can switch banks. That's what the CMA UK regulation is around bank switching, as opposed to just providing the information. So you need to provide beneficiary information, direct debits and so on, which isn't in the PSD2 spec yet.
This is a demonstration
Answer
of
your question.
Wirecast.
Oh, actually, no, I didn't answer your question.
You kind of did. Does a switch there to turn it on? You're just not going to turn it on?
Yeah. So CMA needs to be first, and then PSD2 will come later. But they're only just released the technical specifications for PSD2, so we need to look at what the delta is, if there is a delta.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So is the DigiPass going away?
The DigiPass in the next few months is not going away. Are you business or retail customer?
Business, yeah.
So from a
This is a
business
demonstration
customer,
of
it's not going
Wirecast.
away. It will go away. From a timeline from getting, obviously, the likes of PSD2 and CMA out the door, it won't have gone away. But from the point of view of, is it going to live as soon as I can get a bullet and shoot it in the head, it won't live very long. What you will find, though, is the retail Retails have a DigiPass for setting up beneficiaries. That's starting to go away, so that the need for that equipment will go away, and the business
This is a
bank
demonstration
will
of Wirecast.
use a similar mechanism. So it'll be proven out in retail and then it'll be moved across into business.
So it works on business.
It's going away, but you're going to have to live with it for a while.
So you put in a pin. Now you can generate one-time
Anyone
payments.
else?
Let's give you a demo of the DigiPass.
Yes. There's a new one now.
Is there?
New one that's
Oh, this is an old
already
one.
done, where you
Yeah,
don't have
okay.
time letters
That still
anymore.
works.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Next up we have Phil O'Malley from Fenergo, Head of Engineering. Fenergo has grown from 20 staff in 2013 to 350 today, you guys?
Well, 550 globally, but yeah, 350 in Ireland, yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Just two small housekeeping items. One is we're feeding you all when the speakers are finished, and the second is we bought way too much liquor, so please drink as much as you can. I hand over to you.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Okay. Hello everyone. It was actually very good scheduling by Warwick because Fenergo is a fintech company selling to banks. So hopefully one day we'll get into everything. So I'll just go very briefly through what Fenergo do, the product that we supply to the banks, and then I'll talk a bit about how we've gone from pretty much a startup.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
In 2009, really broke into, not literally, broke into the banks in 2013. They kind of tier 2 banks 2013, and then from there we've been growing rapidly, more than doubling our staff every year, and that's really been around scaling out and getting into tier 2 banks, tier 1 banks. So as we journey through that, we really had to formalise our security approach, and a big push at the moment is really to push the security back into development, left into the SDLC. So what is Fenergo? So we've one product, it's called Fenergo. It's essentially an application that helps banks manage their clients in terms of bringing the clients into the bank, in terms of getting to know that client, so the client is on board in a compliant way. There are many regulations and many workflows that banks
is a
have to
demonstration
carry out
of Wirecast.
with their clients. So the application, sorry about the busy slide, but essentially the application is really, it consists of the data management piece around how we manage the client's data for the bank. The application itself is deployed generally on the bank's infrastructure. We are working with some banks on cloud implementations, but there are none live yet. We're really looking forward to getting into the cloud with some banks, hopefully early next year. So we have data management functionality. We have a slew of compliance regulations that need to be applied to that data as the client onboards, like FATCA and MiFID and Patriot, and they're multi-jurisdiction as well, so there's a lot of rules and workflows to go through. The overall life cycle of the client, it starts with onboarding and then connecting the client to the front office of the bank via our integration systems, and then managing the credit, the KY, the Know Your Customer, and the document gathering and the covering off legal requirements as well. And then in terms of the various components in the application, there's obviously there's the data, the repository, the data, there's a rules engine, there's a workflow, there's risk assessment, which is basically a way of grading clients in terms of how risky they are, how dodgy they are essentially.
And
that varies across jurisdictions as well. There's the document management reporting. So quite a complex application. In terms of how it's architected, the architecture is quite clean, and that really helps to reduce the attack surfaces that we have. Externally, we have the presentation layer, which is essentially browser, so it's browser based, and we have
This
our
is a
integration
demonstration of
services with
Wirecast.
external bank systems. So currently, we're not, these two systems or these two services are not exposed to the internet. They would be within the bank's own network. Then behind that we have multiple services, Java and C# services, and then we have the database. And really, we need to be thinking about verifying at each layer and protecting the traffic and
This is a
avoiding the traffic
demonstration of
at each layer
Wirecast.
in that. So in terms of the security infrastructure, it's fairly standard. So obviously HTTPS across every layer of that architecture. We encrypt at rest, so all the data, whether it's storage on the backing database of the MQ, message queues, the Elasticsearch indexes, and the database itself
This
are all
is a
encrypted.
demonstration of Wirecast.
And then in terms of the authentication, we have multiple protocols and it's a pluggable architecture. So in terms of we can provide our own identity provider, but generally we would integrate with the bank's identity provider. So I suppose the main thing I want to get across is how we really try to engage
This is a
our
demonstration
developers
of Wirecast.
in the security process and really take it from where it started. It was a external company that was doing pen tests and static code analysis for us on a per release basis, taking it from there into the development sprints and really getting ownership within the scrums around thinking about security as the code is being written. It was an easier implementation to bring the architects on board and bring security focus into the design. Applying security to the development from design to implementation was definitely more challenging. So essentially the first step was really training the architects and developers. So we got we partnered with a consultancy and we set up basically training camps, half-day training sessions where
This
we
is a
started
demonstration of
essentially with sample
Wirecast.
applications and went through various vulnerabilities and the architects and developers then would practice those, and then we kind of progressed onto more complex scenarios and finished up doing some hacking on our own app, which was quite fun. And we set up security hackathons, and that really kind of engaged people, and kind of incentivized people to have a go. And we did find some vulnerabilities
This is a
that
demonstration
weren't
of
picked up
Wirecast.
by the standard penetration testing. Quite complex ones, but the guys were kind of very much kind of engaged and into it, and there's a lot of kind of cross pollination of ideas, and they were coming up with all sorts of weird and wacky approaches around decoding tokens and editing them and re-encoding them. So once that initial training and knowledge was
Demonstration
gained by
of
the team,
Wirecast.
the next step was to work with the partner in evaluating security tools that we would use as part of the development process. So we evaluated a few tools, and we selected Burp Suite of pen testing tools. So that's something that we apply during our development sprints now. We execute that. And the next step around that is really to start building that into our CI, into our automated delivery.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
So in terms of dynamic scans, really the main focus at the moment is around the OWASP top. That's really that's really the main starting point in terms of securing a web app and apps with web services. So we very much covered off any issues around the OWASP top 10 in terms of secret injection and misuse authentication and that kind of thing. And yeah, like I said, so we engage with an external security provider, and they provide more extensive pen testing. We also do static code analysis using SonarQube, so there's a security plugin that we've implemented, and we can add rules to that as we go, as we sometimes pick up issues in our code review, and they can be added as rules. And Visual Studio, we haven't got as far as this yet, but Visual Studio obviously has the ability to add in plugins.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
To do analysis as the developers are writing code and flag vulnerabilities there. So what's ongoing in next steps are really in sprint scans. That's really that's something we want to increase and really get that more embedded in the sprints. Third-party scans obviously are ongoing. These two here are quite interesting, and these two are really next steps for us. So there's a kind of a follow-on set of controls really that OWASP recommends. Close to my own heart. I'm from Sligo, and we were saying in Sligo about voting early and often, but OWASP recommends verifying early and often. So that's really about at each layer verifying the traffic in terms of identity, and
this
even within layers
to
repeat verification. And then other ones. It's certainly worth checking out in terms of parameterizing queries as well. So any kind of queries you're doing, LDAP or SQL queries to parameterize them, so they're much harder to inject code into. And then in terms of this application security verification framework, this is somewhere we want to. This is something we want to take on
is a demonstration of Wirecast.
over the coming year as well. This is really a more formal analysis across the application and the design, where you can assess your own level of security more at a practical, customized view of your own security, as opposed to an assessment number that you get out of a piece of software that may be representative or may not be. This really is a good way of looking at your security and your design, your architecture.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
How your code reviews are the content of your code reviews really looks. It's quite holistic. So that's really it. Any questions?
The sample apps, were they something that were supplied to you, or did you have a few?
Yeah, the sample apps were provided by the training company. So they were kind of the basic kind of starting off with.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
JavaScript-based, HTML-based web pages, and then moving on to something with a database back end.
What vendors do you use for the third-party scans?
Third-party is Encryption Ireland.
Okay.
For your development process, I've noticed, or I've worked with a lot of developers who don't tend to be particularly security conscious, and automated scans and code quality
This
can only go
is a
so far. So do you
demonstration
have
of
security
Wirecast.
people or operations people embedded within your development teams, or how does that work exactly for the code review type things?
Yeah, so we haven't security specialists recruited at this point, but as we grow, that may become more of a requirement. So at the moment we're really relying on our in development pen tests, our code reviews, so we're driving security checks into the we have a formalized code review process, and we can run reports on the code reviews completed versus check-ins, and that gives us a view of to what extent we're covering the check-ins with code reviews. These guides here are very useful in building out the code review, but really it's an ownership within the scrums really that we're trying to drive.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Were you able to measure that in any way in terms of like how effective it was to have that kind of a training for the team? How many security issues you were during code reviews, etc.?
Well, we didn't. I suppose we had a baseline of the external pen test before the training started, and we used that. There were quite a few vulnerabilities identified in that, and we used that as input to the training.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
During development and during the training. So by the end of the training and the following release, we didn't have any highs or critical. So it was quite that was quite measurable. But from there, you're really just trying to push it back into the development process, and at this point the external tests aren't picking up anything.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
In development and nailing it there.
Just two questions. So how many developers are involved? And then the second one is, do you have any sense of how big the code base is, like how many lines?
The first, in terms of developers, we would have across multiple sites, so there's Dublin, Poland, South Africa, and I was chatting to you earlier, there's a technology,
this is a demonstration of Wirecast.
that customize well, they do code changes, but they're not core code changes. So between the two groups, it would be 180 developers. Then within R&D, which is the group I work in, we produce the core application that then is customized per bank by the professional services. It would be in the region 90. That's kind of split.
And the size of the application?
The size of the application
is a
large.
demonstration of Wirecast.
It's a highly configurable application that
varies per deployment.
Yeah. So it has well over 120 projects in the solution itself, and that's the main set of C# services, and then there's a bunch of Java services as well that deploy separately. So it's a big chunk of code.
This is a demonstration of
You're going to
Wirecast.
try to deploy your application in the public cloud, and how long was the process of securing the application to a level where the banks would accept something like that?
Yeah, so we're still working through with the banks. We have some test environments set up. Some of the smaller banks that are more, I would say, more agile in terms of embracing cloud.
This is a
There aren't any
demonstration of Wirecast.
there aren't any live installations at this point, and our application will only operate within the client's, the bank's network. So it won't be public cloud. It will be a virtual private cloud for that particular bank.
Okay.
So from our point of view, we wouldn't expect to have to change our security testing.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Security testing instead of hitting the application within a data center, you're hitting it from the private cloud.
It's the opposite then. I mean, if you're deploying on a private bank, colo or something like that, how do you verify their environment in terms of providing security? You mean?
So from our point of view, we will only scan within our network. So when
This
the
is a
product is
demonstration
deployed
of
in
Wirecast.
the bank's network, the infrastructure security is down to the bank to manage. So we don't scan within the bank's network. They would do all that. So we basically we make sure that the application is architected and tested from a security point of view on our infrastructure and our topology, and then the bank then deploys it. We don't deploy it. The bank
This
then takes
is a
that,
demonstration
deploys it,
of Wirecast.
on their network as they decide.
So they get to choose sort of the hardware and the operating system.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, within the guides in terms of they generally would have certain clustering arrangements. It's supported Linux and Windows, SQL or Oracle. So there's a set of supported software that we recommend.
This
within
is
that,
a demonstration
they
of
manage the
Wirecast.
and the configuration. We would support that. Great.
For our headline act, we're a few minutes ahead of schedule, so I was going to suggest if people want to fill their glasses before Joaquin and Jason start, feel free to make a trip to the bar, get a glass of wine, a bottle of beer, and we'll
This
kick
is
off
a
again.
demonstration of Wirecast.
Thanks, folks. Great.
How are you?